You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey, Young and the Restless fans, we have seen a couple of Sharon Newman's enemies return in the last few years. And so we're wondering if Y&R might bring back more of the demons from Sharon's past, dead or alive, to torment her. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and given that head writer Josh Griffith seems intent on terrorizing Sharon to death with villains from her past, we're going to talk about who else might come back. But hey, hit subscribe if you're not following us, and let's get right into it. So first, with Matt Clark back, many fans are clamoring for the return of his semi-unwilling partner in crime, Tricia Dennison. Now, if you weren't watching back then, let's be real, Matt's a creep. I did a video on all the stuff he's did. He's a rapist who terrorized and assaulted Sharon, and he framed Nick to go to prison. And it was Trisha who helped Matt frame Nick on a drug charge. But Matt and Trisha weren't in love or anything. You know, they weren't coupled up. In fact, Matt drugged and raped Trisha and drove her pretty much insane. And at one point, to her credit, she actually stopped Matt from assaulting and raping Sharon again. And then Trisha got Matt into her car and drove off a cliff, Thelma and Louise style. And luckily, Trisha survived, but Matt sustained these awful injuries and he was presumed dead. And that was when he had pulled his breathing tube out to try and frame Nick for his death. So after that happened, Trisha did a whole lot more bad stuff, and Matt's ghost was basically a delusion in her brain telling her wicked things to do, kind of like how Camryn Kirsten was that hallucination telling Sharon things to do, and Ian's turned up talking to Mariah recently. So it's very interesting. Also, Trisha drugged Victor Newman and raped him and then beat herself so that she was all bruised and battered and could go to the police. And Trisha accused Victor of raping her. And he went to prison because of Trisha. And then she later crashed Victoria's wedding wearing an identical gown to the bride and held the groom at gunpoint after locking Victoria in a closet. So then when she got loose, Trisha tried to shoot the bride but wound up killing the groom, and she was sent to a psychiatric hospital. So Young and the Restless could have pulled off an epic double twist. And they could have brought in Tamara Braun to play Trisha. But based on Sienna's private conversations with her husband, Mitch, a.k.a. Matt, that's not what they did. Not unless Trisha had plastic surgery and is lying to Matt and running a long con on him. If Tamara was recast Trisha, she wouldn't be grilling Mitch, asking him if he's really Matt Clark. But they still could bring her back, have Trisha on the loose and stalking Matt for revenge at the same time he's stalking Sharon and Nick and Noah for revenge. That would be clever and soapy and fun, but Josh Griffith is not a particularly creative thinker, as we all know. So another creep from Sharon's past is less horrible than Matt Clark or Camryn Kirsten, but could be a worthy adversary depending on how they wrote his return. So this guy, Frank Barrett, pressured Sharon into sex in high school and got her pregnant with twins Cassie and Mariah. And Frank was horrified when Sharon told him she was pregnant, and he's like, nope, I'm out. He wanted no part of it. And you probably remember Ian Ward somebody had stole Mariah to give to him, and he raised her, and Sharon never knew about Mariah. And then the other twin, Cassie, went up for adoption, but Sharon later got her back and raised her. So yeah, Frank was a jerk and a deadbeat dad, but not evil, at least not yet. But fast forward 20 years, and he came back to blackmail Sharon. And Frank was also trying to get closer to Cassie. After years of being a deadbeat, he was showing some interest in his daughter. So Frank was extorting Sharon for money. And at that point, Cassie didn't know anything about her bio dad. And then Sharon begged Frank to leave her alone and just go away, but he didn't. And he did get a payoff, but then he wanted more. And he stalked and he menaced Sharon, trying to get what he wanted. And she was distraught, and he kept pressuring her. And this was all affecting Nick and Sharon's marriage, that had been kind of shaky and on the rocks at that point. But you know what? Frank was killed by Sharon's other psycho stalker, Camryn Kirsten, who then framed Sharon for his murder. There was a whole thing where they thought Frank's body was really Camryn for a while, and it turned out later they figured out it was Frank. So Sharon was arrested, and it was a total nightmare. And later, Camryn was killed, but then he returned, after all those years, which was just, 2 years ago? And then Sharon stabbed him to death, hopefully killing Camryn once and for all. So yeah, Young and the Restless would definitely bring back another of her dead exes. Frank could turn up alive, just like Matt and Camryn, to terrify and torment Sharon. I mean, if Josh Griffith is just recycling old enemies, I guess, keep them coming. We could have had Frank back after years with a bigger grudge, and maybe he shows up and decides to kill Sharon because he can't kill Camryn in revenge since she did that. And I'm sure Frank would blame Sharon for Camryn killing him. And of course, soap deaths are easily undone, so Frank's could be undone. All right, another past tormentor who is alive and could return at any time, of course, is Ian Ward. Everybody thinks Victor shot him to death, but the former cult leader survived. Last we saw, he was in the ambulance, clearly alive, getting ready to make a break for it. So they brought back Ray Wise very recently, but he was just a hallucination that Mariah was having at the psych hospital. But the writers left Ian alive for a reason, and that may be to come back and do bad things to Sharon again. But there is one last enemy I want to talk about from the past. It's a woman who's supposedly dead and may want revenge on Sharon for killing her. I'm talking about Skye Newman. Now, we all know Young and the Restless likes to bring people back from the dead, but this death was dramatic and insane. If you don't remember this chick or why she may want payback on Sharon, let me give you a quick reminder. Skye was a friend of Adam's back in the Michael Muni days, and Skye and Adam went to Harvard together. And Skye was there for Adam when he faked his death to avoid criminal charges and ran off to Brazil, and they were hanging out down there. But then he was hauled back to Genoa City to face trial, and Skye followed him, and she footed the bill for Adam to get a top criminal lawyer in exchange for a business proposition. Basically, Skye wanted the Newman name, so he married her. But Adam and Skye had issues, and she slept with Jack to make Adam jealous. And then later, Skye conspired with Victor, and they faked her death to frame Adam for it. Now, back then at the time, Sharon had fallen in love with Adam and wanted to exonerate him. And Sharon went looking for Skye to prove she was alive and that Adam didn't kill her. So Sharon found her in Hawaii, and she confronted Skye, and they argued, as one does, at the edge of a volcano. Sharon tried to pull Skye back up when she had fallen, like right over the edge, but Sharon wasn't strong enough, and Skye fell to a fiery volcanic doom. Adam was cleared of killing Skye, but then Sharon was charged with it, but they later decided that Skye's death was accidental. That was 15 years ago in 2010. So yeah, it's a long shot to explain how Adam's ex-wife could survive a lava-rific death, but I mean, come on. They've brought people back from the really, really dead before. Once Matt Clark is dealt with, I do wonder if they're going to bring back one of these other villains for Sharon to vanquish once and for all.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.